At the end of the interview by Detective No Hilly with Travis McMichael, he asks him this: do you remember if he grabbed the shotgun at all? Because Travis is all over the place. I want to say he did, but I honestly can't remember. Ladies and gentlemen, there's absolutely no evidence that Travis McMichael went, I shot him because he grabbed my shotgun. That's not what Travis McMichael says at all. This isn't about grabbing the shotgun. I want to say he did, but I honestly can't remember. I mean, me and him, we were face to face the entire time. Also of note, Mr. Arbery had nothing on him. No backpack, no bag, no cell phone, no ID, no wallet, no keys, no gun, no weapon. Mr. Arbery couldn't have even called for help if he wanted to, because he had no cell phone on him. There's absolutely no evidence in this case that anyone was making an arrest. Not one single defendant said, Mr. Arbery had a weapon. Not one single defendant said, Mr. Arbery made any verbal threats or gestures. Mr. Arbery said nothing during the 5 minutes he ran from the defendants. No one, not one single defendant said, I saw him commit the crime of blah, blah, blah today. Mr. Bryan was on his front porch. Travis McMichael was sitting inside his living room. Greg McMichael was in his driveway. What's your emergency? There's a black male running down the street. No one said, I was making a citizen's arrest today. Not one single person used those words. No one said, I was trying to arrest him for the crime of fill in the blank. No one said that. Not one single defendant ever said, I was trying to arrest him. Or mentioned what crime it is that they actually thought he committed. No one said, I told him that he was under arrest. I mean, come on, how do you arrest somebody? You're under arrest. Put your hands, blah, 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 right? Isn't that how you arrest somebody? You tell them you're under arrest. No one ever said, well, I told the guy he was under arrest for the crime of, whatever crime it is. No one ever said that. But here's what Greg McMichael did say. And this is really important, because once again, Greg McMichael's talking about February 23rd, 2020. Is he picking up anything, going through anything? You know, not that I recall. I don't think the guy has actually stolen anything out of there. Or if he did, it was early on in the process. No immediate knowledge of any crime in the past or on that day. I don't think the guy has actually stolen anything out of there. Or if he did, it was early on in the process. Meaning I don't have any information about it. I don't know anything about that. No one said, we have evidence that he stole items off of Larry English's boat back in November of 2019, so we're trying to arrest him for burglary or theft or anything like that. No one ever talks about Larry English's boat during any of these interviews. Really important. Did this guy break into a house today? Did he commit a burglary today? What did he do today that you have immediate knowledge of? That's just it. I don't know, says Greg McMichael. And look at what he does. He says, well, you know, that's what I told, what's her name out there? I said, listen, you might want to go knock on some doors because, you know, I'm sure he did something. And if you police officers would just go and investigate that, I'm sure you could figure out what crime it was that he committed today. I'm sure you could. Just go out. I mean, you should investigate. Now that we've killed him, figure out what crime it was that he was committing. I said, listen, you might want to go knock on doors down there because this guy just done something because he was fleeing from. I don't know. He might have gone in somebody's house. He might have gone in somebody's house? No immediate knowledge of anything or any crime that Mr. Arbery committed that day. What you don't hear is, I thought he committed a burglary. What you don't hear is criminally attempting to burglarize this person's house, and I personally saw it by any of these defendants. That's not what you hear from them. The only time Greg McMichael actually uses the word arrest, and he does use the word, he uses it one time, But anyway, in my mind, there's a good possibility this guy's armed. That was my thought process. And my intention was to stop this guy, so he could be arrested or be identified at the very least. All right, let's pick this apart for a minute. But in my mind, there's a good possibility this guy's armed. That was my thought process. The evidence is Greg McMichael needs to be able to explain to the police why he has a gun and why his son has a shotgun. So this is it. I thought he was armed. I really want you to think about this. The evidence is that Greg McMichael assumed the worst. This unknown stranger, this black man who's running down the street, has a gun on him. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about Greg McMichael's...
I object. We're getting into argument now. We're running an hour and 15 minutes beyond the hour time limit for opening statements.
Starting to get into some argument here.
Yes, Judge, I will take it down.
Thank you.
The evidence is that Greg McMichael assumed the worst when he said, in my mind, there's a good possibility this guy's armed. This unknown person, he assumes, has a gun on him. And yet his driveway decision is to purposefully chase after and confront a man they now claims he thought was armed. His driveway decision. We'll go ahead and pick apart the statement a little more. And my intention was to stop this guy so that, one, he could be arrested. Notice how he didn't say for what. He didn't say so he could be arrested for the crime of this, the crime of that, or anything. I don't think the guy has actually stolen anything out of there, or if he did, it was early on in the process. Did this guy break into a house today? That's just it. I don't know. But the alternative for, well, my intention was to stop this guy so that he could be arrested, we don't know for what, was, well, he should be identified at the very least. The evidence is that Mr. Arbery is dead because they wanted to know who he was.